lot of nuts!
Happy New Year's, hyenas, and welcome to the last video on the SumitoMedia channel. Until I upload another video. Really, every video I upload is the last video until the next one comes out, if you think about it. But today's video, I wanted to talk about retiring. Who retires on YouTube? What does it even mean to retire when you have a job as ethereal as a YouTuber or content creator? And perhaps most importantly, and what you're all wondering is, with all the complaining that I've been making about all the changes to the algorithm and subscribers and stuff on my own channel, all the struggles in which I've been very vocal about, am I retiring from YouTube? But to know the answer to that, I'm afraid you're gonna have to stick around until the end of this sentence. It's complicated. There have been a lot of situations where I've thought about, more recently, stepping back, doing whatever to sort of not make YouTube my main thing anymore. And it's been a direct result of the struggles, the mismatch of the amount of effort that I put into these videos with the results that I'm seeing currently. Obviously, when you're a small YouTuber and you've made a couple videos, the ongoing morale is always just keep making videos, you will see success eventually. The only thing that determines the end of your career is if and when you decide to quit. And so if you don't quit, you will eventually make it. But while that's encouraging at first, as time and time goes on, you start to wonder just how far down the road that level of success that you might be wondering is going to come eventually. Is it going to come soon enough in order to compensate for your struggles, your effort, your frustration, your building up credit card debt, the extra hours you're having to pick up delivering pizzas or whatever it may be for your situation? But then it got me thinking sort of like, has anybody ever really retired from YouTube and content creation? I mean, sure, there are a few people that have basically disappeared off the face of the earth, like Jenna Marbles and, I don't know, maybe Joji, technically, but even in those situations, you have to imagine that people who've been doing YouTube for so long are probably just stepping back from the cadence of uploading videos as consistently as they had been for a number of years, and are probably still using that creativity somewhere else. And so if you're still making stuff somewhere on the internet, even if it's just like fashion designing a clothing line a couple times a year, or somebody like PewDiePie, who most people can agree has retired from the grind of uploading videos every day of the week and now just sort of uploads whenever he wants to. At the end of the day, his main gig is still YouTuber and content creator. I imagine a big chunk of his money and or the traffic that he drives towards his projects that aren't YouTube still come from the sporadic vlogs that he's been uploading in spite of uploading every single day. And so as a result, can we really say that PewDiePie has retired? In most situations in traditional careers, retirement means you stop working, or at the very least you stop working directly for a paycheck that fulfills your livelihood. Maybe you go part-time and just pick up shifts where you want to in order to maintain healthcare benefits like here in the US, or perhaps you spend your time doing something that doesn't necessarily need to make you money, like gardening, learning how to cook, woodworking, you know, old man shit, late game end points to the skill tree that you wouldn't do early because they don't make you any money, but now that you have money and you can step away from that grind, give you some sense of like inner fulfillment or what have you. But on YouTube, it feels as though that definition isn't actually adherent to that traditional definition. The vast majority of people that are retired, quote unquote, on YouTube still very much continue to make videos. And so to me, it really makes me wonder sort of like, how many people on YouTube are still making videos but are effectively stepped back from the grind of uploading content to get views, to turn those views into money? Because once you detach yourself from making content that needs to make the money, and rather you're making content just because you want to, and the money sort of, you know, floats around and ends up to you eventually, that's sort of what retirement is on YouTube, right? I recently watched an upload by Veritasium, in which, I've forgotten his name, but I'm just gonna call him Veritasium, in which he basically does what I did at the beginning of this video. He clickbaited the idea of retiring from the channel in an effort to talk about what the future of the channel is like, and in which he shed some light on a big piece of news that started to become a big piece of conversation around YouTube, which was private equity acquiring stake in YouTubers. And that's a lot of big words, but basically the idea is that some company that is basically an investment firm, people that take money and put it into a business that they think is going to make money, have started to diversify their portfolios, have started to spread out the things they invest in, and have started investing in YouTubers. And one of the biggest examples when this piece of news was going around was science channel Veritasium. Now, this is a channel that makes videos very much along the lines of like Vsauce or Numberphile, where they basically teach you things about the world, science, physics, mathematics, and what have you in very interesting ways, in a video that makes you feel smart and it teaches you something or whatever. And it's all run by this guy. And there was a big conversation around the fact that his channel was acquired by private equity, that basically a company, some soulless being that just wanted to make money, bought a huge majority stake in this YouTube channel. And then the general consensus, the conversation that I was seeing around that time was basically this channel has gone to shit. The quality is worse. The guy who's running it doesn't care about making good videos anymore. It's effectively a waste of your time because now all he has to do is pump out videos that are gonna get views by the lowest common denominator viewer possible. It's all clickbait, it's all show. It's not the passion, soul-filled, educational content that it used to be. And Derek, whose name I just now remembered while talking, addresses this in this video, and it was incredibly insightful. Now, keep in mind, I haven't watched a Veritasium video in quite a while, and so despite the fact that his videos continue to garner 5, 10, 15 million views pretty much every time that he uploads, I was also amongst the brainlets on the outside of the internet, just writing off any Veritasium upload as, oh, this is just a commercialized channel now. They're all about the money. I no longer have a need to watch any of Veritasium's videos. Such has been echoed by this very popular tweet that basically says, hopefully in response to the thumbnail saying, am I retired? You either die a hero or you do whatever this channel did over the last few years, referring to being acquired by private equity, taking a bunch of money and effectively to sell out your channel, supposedly, according to this narrative, right? But then that led me to watch this video in which Derek talks about the absolute eternal grind that was putting together these videos. He had this deep passion to continue to make interesting videos about the physics and mathematics and statistics that go on around our everyday life and try to educate people on the math, science, physics that go on to explain such things in an effort to make everybody a little bit more understanding about the otherwise mysticism that surrounds us in everyday life, and he has continued to do so pretty dutifully. In that video, he talks about having 2 kids, working night in, night out, basically doing the entire thing as a one-man show, despite the fact that he travels, does great B-roll, does great scripts, honestly does a very, very good job at every video that he uploads. To my standard of understanding, maybe you're more picky and you do think the channel has fallen off a cliff, who knows, but he basically talked about the fact that his acquirement of his channel, when that big company reached out to him, they basically gave him a bunch of money so that instead of having to continue to grind and put in these dozens and dozens of hours every week to make these videos, he can instead outsource it to a team. And now he has graphic designers, script writers, he has like 30, 40 people working with him, lawyers and all these other things that have made it so that his videos can be better and are better than they ever have been. The videos have gotten more views and have gotten more people watching since his channel was acquired than ever before, because he went from a one-man show grinding to try to make enough money to be able to live into a salaried employee who now can expect a paycheck and live a normal life. The dude went ahead and got married finally, now that he has the relief of knowing that he doesn't have to grind for the next video, and the quality of the videos have just gotten better research. They have great graphics and animations, no AI in any of those things, thanks to the fact that he now has this team. And so the reality is that the opposite seems to have been true. He was acquired by this big company, but really they just invested in him to be able to do even more of what he was already doing. And as a result, he has spoken to the fact that he has now taken more of a backseat role to his own channel, ironically making it so that he does less work for a channel that is now uploading better and more frequent videos. So really, it's kind of like he's retired. He's doing less work. He's stepped into a more glamorous organizational supervisional role rather than being a feet on the ground, do every single thing from A to Z. But his channel hasn't just stopped uploading. He hasn't disappeared off the internet. Rather, the stuff that he's been doing is doing better than it ever has been, with him doing as little work as he had to prior, which is an interesting, conflicting contrast of what you would expect a YouTuber retiring to be. Another video that I watched, and this is like a trend, right? YouTubers all sort of clickbait, hey, is this going to be my last year on YouTube whenever a new year rolls around? But another video that I watched was by Colin and Samir. These are guys who do videos interviewing YouTubers and talking about the creator economy, how YouTubers change things, new trends, how they build businesses. They interview them and break down these more complicated things so that you can understand sort of the background business that goes on with big YouTube channels and what have you. And they talked about how during the Palisades fires in California, both of their houses burnt down in those wildfires, and they had a lot of changes to their network. And in this video, amongst a number of things that they talk about when reflecting on this year, they read out a number of negative comments that they got about their content so far. And a number of them echo basically the same idea, which is that they have gotten too big and corporate to be enjoyable anymore. And I actually share this sentiment. When I started watching Colin and Samir, it felt like all of their videos, they were fanboys. They were such big fans of Casey Neistat, Emma Chamberlain, these other big YouTubers, and they were such big fans that they made these videos breaking down what it was that made these videos so attractive to such a large audience. And that felt incredibly relatable to me as a viewer because they felt like a viewer. But lately, over the course of the last few years, as they've crossed over 1 million subscribers, they themselves have turned into very big YouTubers. Now doing interviews with people where they're on the same level, talking about the business and decisions that they make to make bunches of money and sell online courses and do sponsored ad reads. They no longer seem like a viewer that I can relate to, but rather seem as big of YouTubers as these other YouTubers are. And a lot of the magic has disappeared in that for me. And they, because they are so business minded and have been doing YouTube for like 10 plus years on a bunch of different channels, have an online course, have merch, always tell you to check out, their website where they sell a newsletter and a bunch of other things. They're very corporatized in that manner. And as a result, they have a lot of other things that make money, and their main videos don't need to. They no longer need to make videos that need to get 1 million views because they're so hyper fixated on getting the right audience to watch their videos that they really only want you to watch their videos if you yourself are a YouTuber, are a creator, and might buy their online course or might buy some one-on-one coaching for them, because that makes millions of fucking dollars compared to the views on the YouTube channel that might not make anywhere near that, and at the end of the day is completely unpredictable, as it is for basically every YouTuber. And that's sort of the alternate option. If you don't end up quitting YouTube, you kind of do one of two things. You either make your YouTube channel into this thing that autopilots for you, the way that like Matt, Pat, and or Veritasium have, where they can step away from being the face and the host and instead can just be the one orchestrating stuff in the background, and the videos continue to come out without them. Or you basically make it so that your YouTube videos don't need to be good anymore. And that's not to say that their videos are bad, but they no longer need to make videos that get millions and millions of views, because they only need to churn a certain amount of those viewers into people that buy their products. If you're gonna make $1 million a month from people buying your online course and what have you, when you only get 30, 50,000 views, where is the desire to make a video that's good enough, interesting enough, uploaded often enough in order to get millions of views? And if you're a viewer who's watching these because you find them entertaining and you're not somebody who's going to buy their course, well, it gets a little bit annoying when they do the 6th upload talking about how to file your taxes as a YouTuber, or the best way to make sure that you're legally distinct, or the best way to start an online course. Like, this is sort of boring behind the scenes business nerd shit that isn't going to appeal to the vast majority of the audience that signed up for this channel in the first place, which was to talk about and break down the most viral creators on YouTube. And so their channel has a completely different identity now. It might as well not exist to a huge chunk of people who signed up for that first thing. This leads into the idea that, like, what is like the good end goal for a YouTuber. Like, if you're somebody who makes videos, or even if you're somebody who's thought about it, you can imagine that, like, once you get to, like, I don't know, 1 million subscribers, that it's like, oh, I make all this money, I do this thing, and then what, right? You only get to 1 million subscribers for the most part by making really solid videos and doing it often enough that it's something that you can do over and over again for many, many years. But the money only comes if you're continuing to make videos, and pretty much every one of these guys who hits this really big threshold of hundreds of millions of views and doing it for 10 years or hitting 1 million subscribers, they hit a point where they're no longer happy with, or no longer feel like they can continue with the cadence of making a video every week, making a video every month that continues to get millions and millions of views like that, unless you're dumping more than full-time hours into making those sorts of videos. And so, you know, you can imagine that from the beginning, if you're starting out, if you get to a situation where you can sell your channel for a bunch of money and collect a paycheck, well, that must be the end goal. Like, you've made it, you've done it. But in the case of Veritasium, we can see that the initial feedback from pretty much everybody who heard this news was, oh, this sucks, I don't want to support him anymore, this is a bad thing. When in reality, that's like one of the biggest signs of success, right? And in the case of Colin and Samir, they've been able to move from having to get millions and millions of views to having a successful online business with their coaching, their newsletter, their merch, and what have you. Their videos don't need to continue to get millions and millions of views, and so they can take that weight off of their shoulders. But now, the feedback that they get is that their videos suck now. You guys don't make videos that are interesting for anybody and everybody to watch. You only specifically make it for a very specific direct audience, and that's not a lot of people, and so not a lot of people have positive feedback to give you for this video. But arguably, that's the end goal of that channel, for these guys to step away from just leaving their paycheck up to whatever the YouTube algorithm decides is going to be popular that year, that month, that week, and instead have a reliable income from a side business that they do. But now the channel ends up suffering a little bit because of that, because it lacks the creative drive that they needed to have to get to that point. That doesn't seem like it's got a positive reception from their viewers either. Even in the case of somebody like MatPat, PewDiePie, Equals3, Ray William Johnson, these guys who have these big channels that they inevitably step back from. I mean, I can't imagine Game Theory is going to continue to get the number of views that it did with MatPat no longer being the voice of it. We all know what happened to Equals3 with Ray William Johnson when he tried to swap it out for another host. PewDiePie no longer making gaming videos and instead just doing vlogs is doing okay, but really only because he has 100 million subscribers. You can make a great argument that his channel isn't ever going to reach the peaks that it did when he was uploading 5 days a week. What is the correct move to make once you get to that end level of YouTube that keeps your audience happy and doesn't just have you disappearing off the face of the earth like somebody like Jenna Marbles? Like many things when it comes to being a YouTuber, I believe a big chunk of this is the fault of YouTube. Obviously, because YouTube's current algorithm really doesn't give a shit about how many subscribers you have. You can spend a decade building up your audience to the point where you have 1 million plus subscribers, and the current algorithm with its changes to watch time and click-through rate still don't even push your videos out to every one of your subscribers unless it's as clickable and as watchable as any other video that's been uploaded that day. If you're a channel that's got 10,000 subscribers and you make a video that's super giga viral, well then that video can go on to get 10, 100 million views if it's good enough to get enough people to click it and watch it. That's the reality of the situation. And if you're a YouTube channel that's got 10 million subscribers and you upload a real stinker, it is possible that that video's still only going to get like 10,000 views and not even be pushed out to every one of your subscribers if the thumbnail isn't clickable and if the video doesn't seem as watchable according to their internal metrics, according to all the things that YouTube follows. And that makes it so that nobody can really coast. Even if you've spent all of this time building up this audience on these videos, if the quality of your videos drop even a little bit, it's basically like you made a bad video on a channel that nobody is subscribed to, just the same as it would be on a brand new channel uploading that videos. And arguably that's good for the sake of the overall ecosystem. It makes it so that the viewers, people who are watching, are going to continue to get high quality videos because YouTube kind of forces everybody to continue to make high quality videos lest you be just thrown into the obscurity of 400 views for the rest of the life of that video. But it does make it so that these more legacy creators don't have any sort of nest egg, any sort of established audience, any sort of retirement plan to be able to make lower quality videos or lower effort videos and still be able to reliably access their audience. And so it forces these guys to make these sorts of decisions. Do I sell out my channel so that other people handle a bunch of the work? Do I stop using YouTube as the main thing making me money and instead use it as a storefront to let people know that I make my money elsewhere in one-on-one coaching or selling merch, or buy my online class, or come check me out on this other website where you can pay and watch a bunch of other videos that are made that are just as high quality, like Linus Tech Tip does with his website? Or do people just completely disappear into obscurity? Because if you can't do one of those big things of selling your channel or changing things up, what do you turn to continue to be able to keep up with the expectations of making a video that can go viral? AI? Dubbing? Have your entire animation be auto-generated by ChatGPT? Does that not just lead into more slop? Well, people watch more slop than they do high-quality videos because it comes out more often, has TikTok editing, has the text on the screen. Arguably, this probably isn't going to result in a bunch of high-quality videos made by the people who have the most experience in making high-quality videos. This probably isn't the best situation for YouTube. Call me privileged, but I think once you get to 1 million subscribers, once you've done hundreds and hundreds of videos that are capable of getting millions and millions of views, you should be given a little bit of leeway when it comes to the algorithm and the quality of your uploads. I don't think somebody like Derek on Veritasium, that has damn near, 17 million subscribers, needs to be working so many hours that he has to barely spend any time with his kids and put off his own damn wedding 10 years into his career. You know what I mean? I don't think somebody like that needs to turn to having a giant company fulfill the needs of his channel, which ended up being like 30 plus employees to make animations and help him with the script and take that load off. I really feel like if you can single-handedly get yourself up to 10 million plus subscribers, you should be allowed to just continue to make those videos on your own and have YouTube do their job of knowing that this channel that has made great videos for 10 plus years should probably be pushed to everybody who has watched it over that 10 plus years. Because the alternative is what? This educational video about the math and science about the world around you that is significantly family-friendly, educational, everything that you'd want out of a good video needs to still be clickbaity and like entice you and trick you into click the video, because if it doesn't, then that's 10 million more views you can dump over to Mr. Beast. I mean, surely a little bit more variety here is good for the platform overall. I can confidently say that the future of being a YouTuber doesn't look super great for solo YouTubers like myself. Like, perhaps I make it big, perhaps I really find a format or a way to title and thumbnail my videos to really knock it out of the park, to basically continue to talk to a webcam and have that be the thing that garners a ton of views. But the reality is that it looks like some of the biggest channels that I watch on YouTube, like Veritasium, Colin and Samir and what have you, once you get to a really large size of people watching your videos, it just turns into more and more of a more difficult endeavor. These guys have to move to making online businesses off platform, selling stuff off of YouTube, relying less and less on their views. The more and more views that they get, I mean, what exactly is the enticement of working to make videos good enough to get up to the point where I have 1 million subscribers if at that point I need to be spending money on getting editors, animators, and all of these other things to make my videos even more complicated than they ever have been, just to be able to keep up with people like Mr. Beast, Matt Rober, and whomever else who are perfectly happy dumping that sort of money, time, and effort into competing with those sorts of videos. It doesn't look like there's going to be an end goal that's super happy for people who want to continue to just make videos the way that they have been this whole time, without needing to be compared to these people who are treating it like a full-fledged operation. And that isn't exactly enticing for anybody who wants to just make videos about things that they find passion in, which I would argue is probably like 99% of the people who make videos on YouTube. The hilarious thing is that through my time researching and thinking about this topic of retiring on YouTube, I don't know if I can think of anybody who has had a successful step back retirement, so to say, from making content on YouTube in its entirety. The vast majority of people who stop making videos altogether, which I would consider the most concrete definition of retired from YouTube, are people who have successfully made the transition into doing something bigger than YouTube. Liza Koshy, Gabby Hanna, David Dobrik, any of the other people, Joji, that you can think of that got big on YouTube and have stopped making videos for one reason or another, basically just do acting or music or something that is along the lines of mainstream television, Netflix. They're basically like B-list celebrities, or they stop making proper YouTube videos and start just hosting a podcast because that's an easier format for them to basically do the same thing, which I would argue is yet another form of just retiring from YouTube. And people aren't happy if you start making videos to go and pursue a career in acting or becoming a mainstream Hollywood celebrity. Nobody's super happy that Liza Koshy or, you know, Lily Singh or any of these people move to television. In fact, a huge chunk of their YouTube audience typically resents them for feeling like they've gotten so big that they don't make the YouTube videos that they grew up with and love anymore. The people who step away from their content but still try to make videos come out with them just behind the scenes, Game Theory, Equals 3, and whatever other channel you can think of, typically lose a big chunk of their audience because they don't have that personality driving through the videos that they're making anymore. And then anybody who just starts uploading more sporadically and off topic in an effort to be more fulfilled with not having to keep up with the grind of videos every week, typically just end up falling into obscurity because they're no longer appeasing the algorithm. If you go from uploading every day a week to being like, hey man, this is burning me out, I'm gonna try to just upload when I feel like it and like it, you might as well fucking quit, because I can damn well promise you that those videos are not gonna make it to the people who subscribe to your channel, because YouTube's gonna see that your videos are getting less clicks, less watches, not factor in the fact that you're uploading less videos, and your channel's gonna slowly die as a result of that, and then people are just gonna forget about you. So how do you retire on YouTube? The consensus of the examples that I've been able to find that I consider successful is basically boiled down to, I don't think you retire from YouTube. You have to retire being a YouTuber. If you're still labeled as a YouTuber, somebody like Veritasium, PewDiePie, whomever, if that's still your main thing, then the entire self-worth of your identity, you as a person, is tied to your YouTube channel. Right? If your videos don't get the views that they used to, if they fall off into obscurity and you don't have another thing that you do, then you suck. You failed. Whether it was your choice to step back from it or whether it was the algorithm's choice to stop recommending your videos to people who want to watch them, that's you failing as a YouTuber. But the people who have gone on to continue to be successful are people who have put YouTube behind them. Liza Koshy, Lily Singh still have gigantic successful channels, and because the things that they moved to didn't end up as big as their YouTube channels, they weren't able to eclipse being a YouTuber and instead are just YouTubers who failed to become something else. But on the other hand, people like Joji and Bo Burnham, who have gone on to have successful music, comedy, acting careers outside of YouTube, are people who didn't retire from YouTube because they stopped doing that thing. They're people who are now something else. They are music artists, they are comedians, they are proper A-list actors, people who got famous on MySpace and Musical.ly, like Katy Perry, and I think there's a few other examples who like made music on MySpace and then became big celebrities. They no longer get looked at as the person who made music on MySpace, much the way that these people don't get looked at as people who used to make videos on YouTube, YouTubers. They are now something else. They are actors, musicians, they are successful business people. That's why even though Mr. Beast probably makes more money from Feastables or selling merch or licensing deals with HBO, he's never really going to be known as like a TV mogul, because the biggest thing that he's done is still being a YouTuber. Meanwhile, people like Bo Burnham, who arguably like represented comedy music videos on YouTube for the better part of several years, has almost no association with YouTube whatsoever anymore, because the thing that he does in making Netflix specials, music, comedy albums, and what have you is so much bigger than being a YouTuber that they can now detach themselves from that title. That's how you retire, is you just keep working, but in something else. So ironically, retiring from YouTube seems to have very little to do with quitting from YouTube, right? Quitting from YouTube, stopping the uploads that you do on YouTube, more often than not, and this is survivorship bias, obviously, means that you're doing something bigger. You now have a bigger thing that you do, a podcast, you're an actor, you do stand-up comedy, you tour the world doing some other thing, you started making fashion videos on YouTube, and now you work in the fashion department for some sort of big brand. Whatever the transition is, it's once you stop making those videos because you're doing something else, that you can now consider yourself successful and have gotten everything that you wanted to out of YouTube, or at least as much as you could do. Whereas the reality is that the vast majority of people who are sort of retired in the traditional sense are probably still making videos. It's the people who continue to make videos but lack the effort, the passion, the drive in order to continue to keep up at the tippy top of getting as many views as possible that get looked at as failures, that get pushed deeper and deeper into the algorithm, that fall further and further into obscurity, despite the fact that they've been doing the job longer than the people who stepped away from it because they found something else to do. It's kind of ass backwards. I think this current setup of people who can't keep up with the cadence of TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Mr. Beastified titles and thumbnails, weeding out creators that can't hang with that level of things, is a bad thing, right? I don't think that it makes a ton of sense as somebody who watches YouTube videos for YouTube to decide that these people that want to take a step back basically need to make the decision to just quit making videos altogether. I'm sure any one of you guys would prefer to have a video every now and again from Every Frame a Painting, from Ryan Higa, from Jenna Marbles, from whomever your favorite YouTuber was from 5-10 years ago. If YouTube made it so that you could still upload a video every couple of months or once a month, and that video not just get thrown into obscurity, that a lot of people who watch these people over the course of this time would enjoy having these sporadic uploads of people that they've been watching for the better part of a decade. But because of the way the algorithm works and the fact that it doesn't make any sense to put any amount of effort into a video if you're not going to stick to a cadence and upload every week and make sure it's clickbaity and make sure it's interesting enough to keep people from watching at least 15 minutes, or you might as well not make the video at all, leads to less videos being made by people who have been making videos for longer than anybody else on the platform. Arguably some of the people who are capable of making some of the best videos on YouTube, and some of the people who made the videos that created YouTube to become the platform that it is today. Rather, the entire algorithm being filled with all the Zoomers who are capable of keeping up with the TikTok editing and the fast, shortcut, vertical cut videos. I don't know, man. I mean, I would absolutely trade every single Vine compilation, every single Family Guy funny moments for a couple more videos from Jenna Marbles, PewDiePie, Every Frame a Painting, Scott the Woz, and whomever else. Scott the Woz hasn't retired, but you get my point, right? It doesn't make sense that the system that is currently in place completely throws you out of the algorithm if you're not somebody who can keep up with the cadence of everybody else. That kind of feels like it sucks. There is no graceful way to slow down, to retire as a YouTuber and treat it like a passion project or a hobby. You're either in it and you're grinding, or you gotta turn it into a different career, or you're out. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and remember to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, but don't leave too many likes, because if this video goes too viral and gets too many views, then I'm gonna transition into doing stand-up comedy, and then you'll never see me again. It's weird how there seems like there's no good outcome out of YouTube nowadays, isn't it? Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Spisu!